And other politicians on the streets of the city defying a police curfew. Officers fired at crowds on the streets of Srinagar and 4 other towns in the region, wounding at least 14 people. The latest violence comes a day after 19 people died in battles between troops and protesters. The Taj Mahal has been threatened by floodwaters. The monument stands on the banks of the river Yamuna, which has risen quickly over the last few days. There's been heavy rain in India's Uttar Pradesh state, and a local dam was forced to release huge amounts of water into the river. The Eiffel Tower in France was evacuated last night after a bomb scare. Police moved some 2,000 people from the tower and the surrounding park after a telephone warning. But nothing was found during the search, although the tower was closed for the night. Well, let's take you through our top stories now on Sky World News. An American hiker, Sarah Shrewd, has been reunited with her family in Oman. She'd been held for more than a year in Iran, accused of spying. The European Union's executive body has called France's forced deportation of Roma people a disgrace. And a ban on wearing full-face Islamic veils in public in France could be brought in within 6 months after the Senate voted in favour of the bill. Right, let's cross to South Africa now. Very good morning.
Hello and a very good morning to you. I'm Samay Zaka in Johannesburg with a look at what's making business news on the African continent. We start in South Africa, where the government's trade union allies have been spelling out their recipe for economic growth. It includes a super tax on the rich, tougher exchange controls and nationalizing industries such as mines, steel production and petrochemicals. The Union Federation COSATU is a partner in South Africa's governing alliance, and it's a powerful vote-gathering machine for the ruling ANC, but it's been increasingly frustrated in recent years. The government has given its say on economic policy, and the question now, will COSATU have any more success with these latest proposals? Investors will get a better idea next week. That's when the ANC is due to hold major session on strategy. South Africa's First Rand Bank says it would consider an alliance with an international bank. The group is South Africa's second biggest lender and says HSBC's potential acquisition of Nedbank would make a formidable competitor and would leave First Rand as the only SA bank without a foreign owner. First Rand was also out with numbers. It says bad debts fell. That's helped lift earnings 34% to 178.3 South African cents. It's also raised the dividend by nearly 38%. Looking ahead, the bank says bad debts will fall further, but that lending both to consumers and corporates is likely to be subdued. Botswana has inked a rail deal with Namibia. The two will build a rail line to transport coal from landlocked Botswana. The project will be completed by end of October. The duo is also seeking to build a coal export terminal. They're not saying when that project will kick off. Botswana has about 200 billion metric tons of coal reserves, but can only consume up to 5 billion locally, and is now looking to become a major exporter. Taking a look now at your African business news in brief, South Africa's Petro SA says it's held fruitful talks with China's Sinopec over a potential partnership on a $10 billion refinery. Petro SA says it's looking to sell a stake of up to 30% in the refinery, which would be among the largest in sub-Saharan Africa. Cameroon plans to use genetically modified seedlings developed in Brazil in an effort to more than double its cocoa production by 2015. And Kenya's consumer confidence ticked up in the third quarter. That's according to a survey. I'm Samay Zaka. That's the African Business News Roundup from Johannesburg. It's back to you in London.
Thank you, Samay. We'll stay with financial matters, currencies and markets now. While US stocks were little changed on Tuesday, data from the retail sector added to optimism that the recovery from the recession is continuing, but slowly. US retail sales rose in August for their largest gain in 5 months. The Dow dropped 17 points, and after the close, a top official at the US Federal Reserve said the economic recovery doesn't need an additional boost from the Fed and won't need one if it continues along the track expected by policymakers. Well, Japan has devalued the yen to try and help boost the country's ailing economy. The currency had spiked to a 15-year high against the dollar, and the knock-on effect hit Japanese exporters hard. The country's central bank stepped in to sell yen, boosting the dollar up to 84.36 yen from a low of 82.7. It's the first time they've intervened in the currency market since 2004. Bit of showbiz news for you coming after the break, and Penelope Cruz is preparing for her most important role yet.
Sports headlines. Champions League holders Inter Milan were held to a 2-2 draw by FC 20 in Holland. Inter, who are the Italian champions, were ahead and then 2-1 down before Samuel Eto'o equalised. Barcelona were a goal down to Greek side Panathinaikos, but Lionel Messi scored 2 and missed a penalty, and Barca won 5-1. Not a good night for Manchester United. They were held to a goalless draw by Scottish champions Rangers at Old Trafford and suffered a serious injury to Antonio Valencia. And after winning the US Open, Rafael Nadal says he's a little bit of tennis history now, but doesn't want to be compared with Roger Federer.
Are you a fan of Penelope Cruz?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, about to break your heart.
How could you not be?
Anyway, the Spanish superstars of film, Penelope Cruz and her husband, Javier Bardem, are halfway through their most important roles. Yes, she is married. Both Oscar-winning actors, the golden couple, have finally confirmed rumours they're expecting their first child. Sky's Hind Hassan has more.
Good news from Spain's celebrity royalty. Penelope Cruz and husband Javier Bardem have announced they're expecting their first child. That's right, the country's first lady of film has ended speculation by revealing she's 4 months pregnant. Actors in Iraq are defying the country's security obstacles and have returned to work, keen to complete a popular TV drama. Filming on a highly protected set in the streets of central Baghdad, under constant danger of attack, the director seems quite calm about the risks he and his crew are under.
We are just working like all other Iraqis. Maybe a doctor or an engineer would be at a higher risk than me, so I have no complaints. I can't say that the security condition is now good. This is the state that the whole country is in. Of course we wish security was more stable and people were allowed to go about their work in a better manner.
According to one of the show's actors, it seems that even the most simple of scenes require some heavy forward planning.
Because security is still not fully stable, it's always a challenge, especially when we have chase scenes, a bit of action or gunfire. There are all major problems in the Iraqi streets in current times because of poor security. I think the production manager has around 20 letters from security departments that allows us to film in a car outside. It makes our lives easier, a letter from the Defence Ministry or the Interior Ministry. But you can still carry the risk that anyone armed can come and cause harm to everyone on the set here.
I'm an Englishman in New York.
OK, so we've heard him sing about being in New York, but this week the famous Englishman was in another town. Sting took to the stage in St. Petersburg, accompanied by 45 musicians from the British Philharmonic Orchestra. After his sellout performance in Russia's second city, the star said his tour fulfilled all 3 of his childhood wishes: to be a singer, to sing with an orchestra, and to visit St. Petersburg. Time to call it a day then.
You're watching Sky World News. Let's take another look at some of our top stories. We're back in a moment.